It is Wednesday. The Pirate Soft Game Jam is over. And there's 13 days, 19 hours, 13 minutes till voting ends. There were 2,440 entries. I did get my submission in on time. Yeah, you'll see. It's a thing. I made a thing. It's the first thing I made. And if this was ceramics, it would be an ashtray. Yeah. So that's in. Here is what I submitted. It's a little about me thing. You can quit. The start screen. Basically, the farthest I got was having it so that you have all of these different ingredients, and you can put them in here, and you'll get out colors that you could turn into potions. So you have enough red and enough empty bottles that you can make one potion. You can take those and you'll be able to refine them. Oh, oh yeah, it did work. Hey, and so the idea being, as you click on things, they'll refine into better stuff. And eventually, I mean, you would start off with all these bad things that I'm clicking on, and they would subtract. And so it would basically just be like, oh, so much, but you got to try to click on the right thing, and they would get more and more points, but smaller, so they'd be harder to click on. So then you get your amount of color, and you can go to the market, you can make your potion. So look, I got a bunch of potions. You can go to the market, and you'd be able to buy or take your potions, and you would sell your different potions to get different kinds of currency. One currency you could use with this merchant here, and that would let you buy cheap ingredients that you could then put in here to refine. Um, so by the time I got done with everything, that was all I could really put together to submit. So I did have it so that there was things like this, a narrative, so you would see. I think I might have shown this off in the previous video, but I cut all this stuff at the very end because, one, the narrative, not. I mean, I think the bones are there. That's the thing. I have the bones for everything, but it was too janky and it didn't. I couldn't get a good loop out of it, and so I just put in what I could that kind of got the gist of the idea I was going for with the game. And so yeah, so you would have this narrative would introduce you. You would go through the first couple things. I was trying to figure out how to do dialogue so that you would be able to have different answers and different responses. Couldn't figure that entirely out. So yeah, so definitely a huge learning curve. Learned a bunch of stuff. I also helped me figure out for my game some of the things I can just start working on learning and teaching myself and finding already done to use now while I'm still working on things like what game am I gonna make? What's the story gonna be? How am I gonna put these things together? So things like a scene changer, a dialogue handler, inventory system, a store system. Doing this taught me so much about how to getting like the UI set up so that it would work. So getting this, so when you play the game, you press the button, and getting these to be just these single labels. Figuring out that was really good because it was the first time like, oh, this really long string of concatenation to connect to the globals, and understanding how these things are set up so that I can then use this on other labels. Because if you look at some of the earlier scenes, some of the other scenes, like I had them just set up with just a bunch of buttons and a bunch of labels, and each was its own individual thing. Because I couldn't figure out how do I get it to give me different things, and just learning how to do that lets me then design out the UI so that it's one simpler so that it makes more sense. It's not as cluttered. It's more readable by the player, and it ultimately is going to help enhance the final game because it will be less encumbersome, be a thing that you can use because it's there, not a thing you avoid because it's just in your way. So learning that was very, very useful, and it's something I'm actually, I will absolutely use in future games. One of the other things that I learned from this experience is to definitely work on the mechanics part first, and make sure that it's fun and pointing towards being more fun. There's ways that you can tweak it to make it more fun, more engaging, that you at least have something there. Because I spent the first 2, 3 weeks on a bunch of different ideas that when I finally got a prototype up and running where I could at least interact with it, after a while I realized my interactions they were not fun. And not only were they not fun, I couldn't see how to make them fun. I couldn't see how to add tension or engagement or do something within the time constraints and my current level of knowledge in programming and making things work. I couldn't see how to do that. And so that really kind of helped me pivot to this idea where it was more of a click the thing. But at that point, I had 2 days, 3 days left, and I got something that I could put in the game and submit, but it doesn't work. It's janky, it's super janky. Like the bubbles pop, and it does add numbers. Numbers will move and change, but if you cycle through that circle, it won't load again. And I can never get it to. I can never figure out why. So I got to figure that stuff out. There are all kinds of things like that that just I kind of made note of them, but because of the time constraints of the game jam, it was like, come back. This is stuff that you need to figure out and learn how to do because you're going to be doing a lot of it, and it's going to be happening a lot in the game. So making sure that you know how to write it so that it works well and it's well put together, so you can reuse it over and over again. You understand how to reuse things so that they work. I learned a lot about that because I thought I could just copy paste things and they would be their own separate thing, but that's not how it works. So I had to learn about inheritances, and if I just copy paste things over, they will inherit their properties from the thing that I copied. Even if I change those properties, there's still some things that are apparently inherited to it. I didn't know that, and that was causing me issues where I would have things named different things, but when I load them into the scene, only one type of item would load, even though in its own scene it looked differently. You know, realizing that, oh, this is how the tool works, or like, oh, this tool doesn't do certain things, figuring that stuff out. I learned a bunch in this game jam. So very, very useful. 2 weeks, learned a crap ton, which is really good. And I'm excited to do another one. It's kind of just a little bit of a post-mortem of what I did and my thoughts on it. I feel really good about what I accomplished, though. I think for having such little amount of skill, to be able to do what I did in 2 weeks is pretty cool. So I'm going to spend some more time working on that game. I want to polish it up and at least get it, because I wanted 7 days. And I kind of have a story that I think is decent. I already spent 2 weeks intensively working on it and figuring some stuff out, and I think I could now take some time and just have it be a nice little side project to develop. And I think I can work my marble maze into that game as a little side, like a mini game on its own, a little puzzle on its own that I think might be fun. So I have some ideas for it I'm going to work on. I definitely want to continue working on it because I think the basis is as good as any other ideas I've had. That is about it. Thanks for checking out. Please check out what little bit I had and the other people in the game jam. Play their games. See what those teams are doing. A lot of cool stuff has come out of game jams before, so you never know. Maybe this will turn into a thing. We'll see.